Hello, welcome to Wagon Wheel Homestead. My name is Laree. My family and I homestead in north central Nebraska in zone 4, and today I want to share with you what I'm doing in my orchard, and that is pruning grapes. Grapes are a really easy thing to grow. They grow prolifically. The biggest thing that you want to do with grapes is set up a trellis, and I will show you how we have our trellises set up. We got over 25 gallons of grape juice concentrate off of about 15 grapevines last summer. It was an incredible year for growing because we had about twice the amount of rain that we usually have. But one thing that you need to do every winter in the dormant season is prune your grapes, and that's what I'm doing. So I want to show you how to do that. It's definitely a good skill to learn. And we grow grapes because we like to have the juice for jelly. We like some grapes for fresh eating, and we also like to have juice canned that we know is organic and good for drinking. So we have 4 different kinds of grapes in our orchard. We have Somerset, which is a red eating grape. They taste like strawberries. Mars, which is a purple grape, and it's also seedless and good for fresh eating, although it matures a little bit later in the season, closer to the 1st of September. And then 2 juice grapes. One is a wild Concord that grows naturally here in the Nebraska climate, and the other one is Marquette, which is a purple juice grape. I am pruning them all using the 4-arm kniffin method, and that method requires a certain trellis system that has a lower wire about 3 feet off the ground and a higher wire about 6 feet off the ground. We planted our grapes about 10 feet apart, and we have an 8-foot steel post that is supporting the trellis wires in between each grape. So with the 4-arm kniffin method of trellising these labrusca type grapes, what you want to end up with is 1 new shoot. So grapes produce on the 2nd year wood. So the new wood that the grapes grew this last summer is what will produce grapes this coming summer. And so what you have to do in the winter, in the dormant season, is remove the old canes that produced fruit this last summer. Those were the canes that were produced by the plant the prior year. So I am taking out any of the old wood. You can tell that it's old wood because it will be peeling. The bark will be peeling on it, and it will be a dark gray color. You can tell clearly that it's old and dead. When you cut into it, it may be green in the middle because it's probably feeding some new shoots on down the line. But what you want to leave is a new chocolate brown shoot, so you'll be able to tell it's new wood coming out of the main plant that goes up and down. You want 1 on each wire going each direction. So 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. The reason for this is if you don't prune these, what happens is the wood from last year dies, and next year it will produce on wood that's farther on down the line and down the line and down the line, and pretty soon your grapevines will be way out of control and you'll have lots of extra things to prune out, and it'll be a difficult job. So what I'm going to show you today is a few plants that actually have needed pruned for 2 or 3 years and haven't gotten pruned. They are the wild Concords. I was not sure if they should be pruned in the same way as the rest of my grapes. After researching it, I've discovered they do need pruned that way. So they have some extra growth, which you will see me taking out of those grapes. But I want you to know that there isn't that much to take out if you keep up with it. And then I will also show you the grapes that I already have pruned. All of the hybrid grapes, the Somerset, the Mars, and the Marquette varieties are already pruned. You always want to be sure to take your old dead grapevines, the ones that the cuttings that you've taken off, all of the old wood, and dispose of them in a burn pile somewhere else. You don't want to leave them laying on the ground because of risk of disease. So we are in the middle of our January thaw. It's actually February 1st, but we call it our January thaw. We get some really cold winters here in Nebraska. It can get up to 30 below for a couple of weeks at a time in the winter. We had a wind chill of 60 below about a month ago. Very cold. So these are grapes that do well in a northern climate, but we always are very grateful when we have warm weather like this and we can come out and work in the garden. It gives us a taste of spring, even though we know that spring is a long time away. So come along with me. I will show you how to prune grapes. You're going to be a pro at it by the time you're done. And I hope that you consider adding some grapes to your homestead this year. The very first year you plant them, the grapes will be small. And I suggest setting your trellis up right away. And what I would suggest you do is take a string or a stake and put beside the grapes so they can start climbing up until you can get them connected to the first wire. Then probably by the second year, depending on your climate, they will grow more and you can connect them to the second wire. These grapes that I'm pruning today were planted 6 years ago. They were planted in the spring 6 years ago, and so this will give you an idea of how long it can take to establish them. We started getting a harvest off of them their second year. So it wasn't a very big harvest, but over time they've grown and gotten established, and grapevines are really hard to kill. So I expect these grapevines will produce for many years to come and will feed our family. So here's a grape that I'm working on. This is one of the wild Concord grapes, again, that I did not prune for 2 or 3 years because I wasn't sure the best way to care for them, and I've since discovered they need cared for the same way I care for the rest of my grapes. So that's not difficult, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, here's our trellis. Here's the top wire. Here's the bottom wire. We put a couple of posts at the end of the line of grapes, and we put turnbuckles on the wire to tighten them. So that's how they are supported, and then we just wired them to the steel posts. We do have a very nice deer fence that my husband put up for me a few years ago around the orchard and the garden. It's 8 foot tall, so there's a 4 foot wire, woven wire on the bottom, and then 4 strands of barbed wire on the top. We have a lot of deer here, and that helps to keep the deer out of the orchard and the garden. So what I'm doing here is I want, as I mentioned earlier, I want one main trunk coming up from the ground, and then at the wire I want one chunk going that way to the right and one going to the left. Same with this top wire, and I want it to be new wood. This is old wood, but starting right here, it is a chocolate brown wood. It's new wood, so I'm going to let it go on down the line. What I have done to ensure that I will have good new growth for next year is I've left a small fruiting cane right here. So basically what that means is I've left a shoot of new wood, and I've just trimmed it back right above one of the nodes where it will grow a new shoot. And this should grow nice new wood for next year, and so next year I should be able to take out this wood because it will not be usable anymore. So what you start doing is just start pruning and trimming, taking everything off that you don't want. And it is a bit of a puzzle, so if you like puzzles, you will enjoy this project. I always enjoy this project, especially if I can find a warm day to do it, because it reminds me that spring is coming and eventually I will get to spend more time in the garden. So I'm just cutting away all this old dead wood. It's good to have a good pair of pruners. And the reason you don't want more than one new shoot going each direction is because if you have more than one, it can cause your plant to produce smaller fruit. Sometimes it's tempting to leave more than one, because it's sometimes hard to get rid of really good wood, but it's better if you only have one shoot going each direction. I use these small tomato clips, which I will link below in the description box, and I use those to clip the new shoots to the wire and keep them into place. If you keep up with this job, it really doesn't take that long, and it ensures a good harvest during the coming season. So I have to decide. I think I'm going to keep this new shoot right here because it is closest to the parent plant, and I'm going to get rid of everything else because I don't want to keep it going on down the line. So this is the new shoot I'm going to keep. So I know that all of this other old wood can go. I also want to pay attention to leave a fruiting cane for next year. So because our winters are hard, sometimes I leave more than one. So I'm going to leave this one as a fruiting cane and this one. And so I'm not going to cut it off flush. I'm going to leave some, and you'll see that here in a minute when I get some of this other stuff out of the way. Our family grows all of our own food, except for our flour and sugar, pretty much. On our homestead, we have 40 acres that we are blessed to live on. And I was blessed to grow up homesteading. My family and I had a homestead when I was a kid, and we had a big garden and raised our own food. And as I've grown up, that has become more near and dear to my heart. I guess you could say I was homesteading before it was cool. But it's something I enjoy. I love being out in nature. I love being able to be close to my family and spend time with them, raise and influence my children to follow the Lord. So that's the reason why we homestead. And we're excited to be able to share with you the skills we have learned over the years. Of course, we're always still learning, but we're excited to share with you how you can eat out of your pantry and ways in which you can be more self-sufficient and sustainable. So I'm just clipping this to the wire. And so now I have two canes coming up from this. This is the parent plant. You only want one shoot coming up. Sometimes you'll get suckers that start growing at the bottom. Definitely get rid of those. You want one shoot that comes all the way up. And then we have one going this way and one going that way, and same right here. And we've left fruiting canes, these small fruiting canes. We've left the fruiting canes so that they will grow new wood for next year. Looks like up here I could cut this back also so that it grows from here a new shoot, because I do not want it to keep on going down the line. So there's the grapes I have left to prune. I'll kind of show you a couple more, give you a tour of the orchard. And thanks for joining me for such a beautiful day outside in the garden. thanks for coming along with me today as we pruned grapes in the orchard on this beautiful February 1st Nebraska day. I hope that it inspired you. I hope you were motivated. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us for lots more content as we teach you and share with you how to grow a simple, sustainable life.